Welcome to the virtual annual meeting of the Sailing Club for our 2023 season. We're glad you could join us at this event. As we've kind of mentioned before we started recording, we did our in-person annual meeting yesterday in New Jersey. The agenda today is the same, so you're not missing out on any of the information that was provided there. The only main difference I can think of, well, there's two. One is you're not going to have the delicious food, so you have to bring your own. And the other is that we're not handing you a physical copy of the trip package, which contains the printed copies of the trip explanations and the sign up forms. You'll be able to get those, however, at our website. You can do that now if you care to. There's a link right on the homepage. So let's begin. As I said, welcome. Just a few notes about where we are with the Sailing Club. It's great to have fresh ideas and new energy to keep an organization like this alive. Go back. We're not there yet, Steve.
I was trying to put it on mute.
We're a volunteer organization, so we need active volunteers, and I'm happy to be handing over the tiller to a couple of folks in the top positions who have been with the club for a while and are not going to be a jolting shock to things as we move onward, but are going to continue to steer the ship for us for a while. I'll get to who that is shortly. You probably already know. So 2022, we after a couple of years of inactivity, we actually got ourselves out there. We had 2 cruises on the Chesapeake Bay and on water training. We spent a week exploring Martha's Vineyard, and we circumnavigated St. Thomas and found some amazing harbors on St. John. So it was a great season for all who could participate on those trips. We did stick with our decision to not travel internationally because back when we were planning that season, we really could not predict what international travel might be like at that time. It was still a little iffy. People were, having trouble getting on planes to go places. But that's much less now. That's kind of non-existent anymore. So although you will not see any international trips today in the presentations, we are working on some, and you'll be hearing about them soon. We are still, however, asking for participants to have COVID vaccination, have had a jab, just for the peace of mind of some of our more vulnerable members. And that's for anything you participate in with the club in person. Doesn't matter today if you're not. Safety protocols like CPR certification for our skippers and the requirement to attend on-water training for our first mates had been suspended during the pandemic years, and those are now back in effect. So you can be sure that your skipper is CPR certified and your first mate has had a refresher course. The skippers teach that on-water training course, so they've had it too when we do that in a few weeks. So you can be assured that those are back in effect, and our safety is still a top priority. We're a volunteer organization, you know that, but I just thought I'd say it because if there's some place you've always wanted to sail and would like to bring some friends along, maybe you want to try putting a trip together under the program of the Sailing Club. Find a board member, let them know your interest, and that board member can help connect you to the process of how to run a trip. We have plenty of experienced people who can pair with you. We always have a trip leader and an assistant trip leader for every trip. One of those two is always a club skipper, so that there's awareness of the sailing situation in the place you might want to go, and clearer understanding from their experience. But so you don't have to be a skipper or qualified to be a skipper to run a trip. You are welcome to propose and be willing to help organize it. We welcome that. We really, really need folks to help out with that. And the same would apply to any kind of social event. If you guys, of course, for the most part, the folks on this audience are far away from the sort of New Jersey hub. But if you are closer than, I'm thinking, and some of you are closer, social events that are in person, or even social events that are online, are welcome. If you have an idea, for an online game or party, reach out again to a board member to work with them to get it onto the calendar so that we can do it. We're going to hear about a local New Jersey social event in this meeting, assuming the person who's presenting is here. And if not, I'll talk about it. We will continue to do this kind of Zoom-based event. Certainly annual meeting. You'll be hearing about training that will be over Zoom so that we can reach out to folks who are further away. I keep saying you folks, but I'm pretty far away from Central New Jersey myself. So I'm happy that we're doing Zoom stuff. It's a good hour and a half to get to most of these things for me. But we don't want anyone who's on this call who's far away to feel like they're not a first-class citizen of the Sailing Club. So again, if you have ideas for things we can do over Zoom, other than trips, obviously, speak up, propose your ideas. The club 10 years ago celebrated its 30th anniversary from its founding. And that means this year is the 40th anniversary. We don't have anything yet specifically planned to celebrate that. So if you have any ideas, you are welcome to share those. Speak, again, reach for a board member, and board members will then point you to whoever on the board kind of takes the reins to try to coordinate something. And we may indeed have something in, maybe I hope it can be something that is both in person and we can celebrate with folks who are far away. But it's our 40th year. I'm going to hand over to Steve to do a quick financial update, and then we'll come back and do a few more announcements like election results. Steve, you can just verbal it. Yeah, you don't have anything to show. Steve? Steve left the room.
He's on mute.
I thought about bringing my 45 slide deck, but I decided just wing it. Yes, the bylaws require a financial report at the annual meeting. I won't have a lot to say, except that, as you know, costs of everything have been going up, and that has affected us a lot. We have been trying to hold the line as much as possible on particular trip pricing to keep them affordable so we can get more people to sign up. So the past few years, we've actually run a bit of a deficit towards those ends. We do still have net worth, which means would be in the bank account if we closed everything out, about $50,000 to cover the, oh my God, unforeseen, totally unforeseen, the unknown unknowns, as they're called, that we could get hit with. Our boats that we charter come with charter insurance from the owner, so our liability is generally covered there. But when we lose dinghies or other crap overboard or break things beyond repair, that's all on us. And fortunately, we do budget some money. Fortunately, we haven't had anything major. We do budget about $600 a year to overcross all the trips for losing wind channels and breaking refrigerator doors and things like that. No biggie. That's not a sustainable model. So depending on what happens with boat prices for next year, who knows what's going to happen. We are pricing the trips this year that if all trips fill, we will run a bit of a surplus on the trips, but we have lots of other expenses, of course, that we cover, primarily involved in subsidizing on-water training a little bit, the annual meeting a little bit. We have the website and other marketing expenses like the GoGetDaddy emails you get, our Zoom subscription, so other things like that that we only barely scratch the surface with our membership dues. So stay tuned on that. Just as an example, just one which I was able to pick up. We are chartering one of the same boats last year. We're using again this year on water training, and the fee from last year to this year is up 7%. That's pretty big for a 1-year increase on a 2-day charter. So we'll continue to try and hold the line on prices, but we don't have total control, if any, on what we have to spend money on. So we have been over the winter using our idle cash by buying some treasury bills, which Let's put an extra $250 into our bank account. Not much, but it's better than zero, which the bank gives in the savings account. And that's it. That's where we stand. We're financially sound, so don't worry about that. Thank you.
Thanks,
Leah.
Steve. Thank you, Steve. I hope nobody can hear my neighbor who decided to vacuum directly
hear.
above my head just now. um, they seem to be done. All right. I'm going to move on to the election results. That's the other fairly important piece of business that we need to do at this meeting. We circulated the ballot, I don't know, more than a month ago. We had 34 voters. All the proposed candidates were elected with an excess of 95% of the vote. So I will introduce some who are here and some who are not. If you're here when I say your name, then maybe do a wave emoji in the reactions if you know how to do that. So the incoming Commodore will be Eleanor Papalizio. The incoming Vice Commodore will be Marianne Gordon. Marianne is a former Commodore and she's moving in from, she's been on the board forever. Eleanor has been on the board forever too, I think. The membership secretary is Joel Mack, taking over from Lisa Travali. Joel's not here. We have 6 members at large on the board at this time. The new set, similar to the old, but not entirely. John Francischetti, Craig Gill, Bruce Golub, Beth Jelinek, Bob Rainey, and Lisa Travali, who is here. Give us a wave, Lisa. Continuing to serve the second half of their 2-year terms on the board will be Treasurer Steve Krakauer and Charter Liaison Gary Brubaker, who is here. And finally, continuing on the board as past Commodore will be me. So that is our elected board for the 2023-24 season. The other ballot item that we voted on was a membership dues increase. That also passed with 97% approval. It's the first increase in at least a decade. And so we increased $10 for each of the 2 classes of members. That makes the individual membership will be $40 and household membership will be $50. And that will go into effect next year. So don't worry if you already sent in your membership or you have that check in your hand, you've already written it, it's fine. That's okay. Next year, it'll go up to $10. So starting April 1st, 2024. And, as Steve alluded, that money covers the expenses of the website, the Zoom account, constant contact, event insurance. You may not realize that when we do some of the social events we do, we actually have to buy insurance for those. And there's other miscellaneous expenses like ice for the end of season party. And yes, actually the annual meeting is a little subsidized as well. So this allows us to cover at least some of those expenses and not have those built into the prices of our trips, which is what you guys are mostly paying. So your dues go to help with some of those things that are kind of more for our folks local here in New Jersey, but at least we're trying to keep those expenses out of the trips that you guys are absolutely going on. Our trips are budgeted. I'll just one more bit of financial detail, just so you know. When we are budgeting a trip, we look at the expenses for that trip, the charter fees, whatever else we might be throwing in, like mooring fees and slip fees. And we do include, as Steve mentioned, some amount of money to cover unexpected losses, like losing a dinghy. And when we get down to budgeting that trip, we say, okay, we've got 12, we're planning to have 12 people go on this trip, but what do we need to charge everybody to break even if we only have 11 people? So it's a roughly break even with one person short pricing. So just so you know, that is how we try to budget the trips. That's where the prices are coming from. We're not making a whole lot of money on trips. Not at all, really, generally speaking. So that's just for your awareness, because you probably don't know that. if you haven't been on the board. That concludes my comments. I'm just checking to see if I've missed anything. We're going to move on to presentations of the events and trips that we are planning for the next year. We will be doing some door prizes. If you were on earlier, you heard us making sure we have the right list of people for the winners of those, everyone who's here, except those of us who won yesterday. And then there was one other bit of business we did yesterday, which I'll just, Eleanor, I don't know if you, you want to say anything.
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to thank you, Mia, for all your guidance and leadership over the last 2 years. It's been rough. You guided us through COVID and some really rough times and a down season. And you did it all with grace and humor. And we're all still talking to each other, and we have you to thank for that.
Well,
So
thank you.
on behalf of the club. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll share that yesterday I was presented with something I'd been salivating over, which were these really cool binoculars. So thank you from me to the club for this really nice, lovely parting gift.
And I would like to add that Mia is the first recycled Commodore in the club's history.
No,
The
aren't
first,
you? Didn't you do it more than once?
nope. You are the only, Mia is the only person, and you can look at the webpage, the only person to have served as Commodore 2 non-consecutive terms.
Ah, okay, maybe that's what it is. Yeah,
I served 1 term. Bob Rainey holds the distinction
the executive.
of 3 consecutive terms.
Oh, God.
He's the FDR of the Sailing Club Commodoreship.
Right.
And Mia
Like a
is the
Michael
Grover
Bloomberg.
Cleveland of the Commodoreship.
Oh, thank you. That's nice.
He was a Democrat. He wasn't a bad president.
All right. Anyway, so thank you, club, for the cool binoculars that I've been wanting for a few weeks or before I was, before the trips, before the event. All right, let's move on to our agenda of events and trips. I think this actually starts with, we're through that. I think this will remind me if there was anything else, so that's okay.
That's it on the
Yeah,
agenda.
we got it all. Yep. So go ahead and do Bob's. I'll just speak very briefly to it. Bob couldn't make it tonight, but put up the CPR thing because we can still.
I need to do this 2-step. I got to reshare it.
Yes, right. You got to take it out of,
I have to find out how to.
Do we want to,
I think we don't quite yet because we only have 4. So we're going to go in between the trips. I knew what you were going to ask. We'll do one after this. There we go. So Bob Rainey will be providing CPR and first aid instruction for the club on April 1st. That's next Saturday. It's very soon.
This
There's
Saturday.
still time. Well, right. Okay. I never quite know whether this next, how you say it. But anyway, in a few days. And Bob is, of course, a certified instructor with American Heart. It's going to be at the Hills Highlands Rec Center. So if you are close enough that you would want to try to make that, then we welcome you. We do still have some space in the course. I checked with him earlier today. It's $50. This is that CPR certification that I mentioned earlier that our skippers are, required to get. If you don't get it here, you can get it somewhere else. But this is why we offer it, so that we can be sure that it's possible for our folks to get certified. So that's coming soon, very soon. If you are interested, reach out to Bob Rainey. Probably most folks here wouldn't be, but you might
The
be.
sign-up sheet was provided.
It's been
Yeah.
emailed. Yes, you've gotten emails.
Yes.
Too. Yeah. And there's a link on the homepage on the website too.
In other words, I'm saying they don't have to call Bob, they just need to.
Oh,
print
yeah,
the
just,
form.
Well, you might want to call him, let him know.
You might want to ask him if there's still room, yeah.
There is still room. At this time, there is still room, but let him
Okay.
know so he knows to watch for a reservation in the.
Well,
Yeah.
this close, he needs to know because he's got to have the right amount of equipment.
Yep.
Right.
That's right. So that's why you want to
Got
let
to
him know.
bring the right number of Resusci Annies and books and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Okay, that's it. Move on from there. What was next? Is there another one with this slide? No, there's not, right?
No,
We
no,
got
this is it
one
for
to-
the,
Yeah, okay. So I think we're handing over to our one social event that we do have Christine here to talk about very briefly, because again, some folks on this call might be close enough to want to take advantage.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, he's gonna bring up the slides. Hang on.
Okay,
You can
great.
go ahead. You can go ahead and start talking. It's okay.
Okay. Well, my Gail Frankel and I were on the lovely Martha's Vineyard trip, and we went with the crew to an escape room. We just stumbled on it, and an escape room is solving a series of puzzles, and as a team. And in order to quote unquote get out of the room, find the treasure, save the world. So we had a lot of fun with that trip. It was good, different people, different thought processes, working as a team. And we just thought we'd like to try to do another activity like this in between all the sailing trips. So that's what it is. And they don't blindfold you. They don't do anything crazy. And usually the door's not even locked. It's just solving puzzles as a team. And it's not just one puzzle. It's a series of clues or like riddles. And sometimes you work all together. Like there might be 5 to 6 people in a room. They have several rooms. And sometimes you work in smaller, like individual projects with 2 or 3 people to solve it. So it's fun. It's a fun activity. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. And we tried to pick a central location. I've been to a few few escape rooms, and Gail's been to a few. We have not been to the mystery room, but when we were checking it out, they seem to have a nice selection of puzzle rooms. And it was a central location in Woodbridge Mall. And the date we picked was Saturday, April 22nd. So hopefully that's a good date. I know everybody has busy lives. And the next slide. Yeah, the timing. So we have an estimated time of noon to get there. They usually do like a 15-minute orientation, just explaining the rules and usually get to choose which room you'd like to do. 45 minutes in the room to work on all the puzzles. It's $35 per person. And yep, so we'll go to the next screen. Optional lunch, because we always like to eat. So that will be, if you can do the lunch afterwards, we're going to be at the mall. We're going to pick a nice restaurant at the mall that, hopefully everybody can agree on one. And then everybody pays for their own lunch. This is a picture from us from the Martha's Vineyard sailing trip. And yes, we did solve the puzzles and found the treasure. Payment is due April 8th. If you make the checks out to Gail Frankel, and they can be mailed to her address there in Wharton. And fine print. All participants must show proof of having received a COVID-19 vaccine per Sailing Club rules. Are there any questions or comments?
let me just say, Christine, that
Yes.
starting tomorrow, there'll be a 1-page information sheet link from our homepage where people can get all the information, so they don't have to be scribbling down or asking us to go back and write.
Yeah.
So they can write down Gail's information and all that other stuff.
Oh,
And-
Christine,
we had some flyers at yesterday's meeting, so I could scan one of them into you if you'd
Okay.
like.
Perfect.
when you
And
say
there'll be an announcement going out, I hope tomorrow, summarizing the annual meetings, and it'll be mentioned there as well.
Oh, thank
With
you.
with a link.
I
to
hear
the
I
document.
hear a question coming from the audience, Virginia.
From Virginia, when you say recent COVID, how recent does that COVID have to be? Like if you had a COVID booster like a year and a half ago, is that recent enough? Or
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's the current club policy, is just any vaccination at all. Just so
oh,
that
no booster.
you-
Got it. Very good. Thank you.
that is the current club policy. I didn't want to go into grave detail in my notes, but yeah, And that's what if you look at our website, that's what it says. And Lisa, we're going to toss it to you, but let me just point out one other thing. If you look in the Zoom chat, I have posted the link to where you can find the trip information package, which includes all of the trip descriptions you're going to hear about and the sign up forms and the membership form. So follow that link to get all that information from the website. Lisa, you're up.
And I'm actually going to sign off.
Thanks,
So
Christine.
thank you and have a good rest of the meeting. And we're available by email for any other questions.
Great. Thanks for joining.
Good night. Thank
Night.
you.
Good night. All right, Lisa.
Okay, we have everybody's name who's on the call here for a drawing for a door prize.
For a gift certificate, $50 gift certificate.
$50. Yep. It'll be emailed.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, some form, in some form.
Can you see it?
Kathy.
Kathy?
Oberg. Yep,
Oberg.
Kathy Oberg. All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If that is an incentive to get better soon, Kathy, I don't know.
That's
whether-
right. That's
Yeah,
right, for
exactly.
sure.
Exactly. All right. Let us move on to our first trip presentation. Actually, we're going to move on to training and which includes a trip. Gary, you're up. Steve, I'm sure, is working on getting your slides up. There we go.
Thank you. Before we get into any of the trips, I'd talk a little bit about on-land training again this year. And if we can, we have 3 sessions scheduled for April 6th, April 27th, and May 11th. If we can go to the next slide. So we're trying to schedule these sessions about every 2 to 3 weeks. We have the first 3 scheduled. It'll basically follow the same format that we had last year we'll spend 10 minutes making sure everybody's in and is familiar with how to use their Zoom controls, et cetera, and then have about a 15 to 20 minute presentation on a topic, and then spend 30 or so minutes afterwards socializing, discussing what we talked about on the topic and stuff like that. Again, we will require registration so that if there are any materials, we can get those mailed out to you. The topics that we have planned for April and May are, one is a repeat from, I think it was 2021 that we did communications, but we feel the communications on the sail on a boat are paramount, and we want to repeat that. Also in 2021, we didn't record it like we did the other sessions, so we're going to record this one. On April 27th, it's a bit of a new topic for on-land training, and it is electronics and battery management. And then May 11th, another new topic, sailboat dynamics, or in more layman's terms, what makes a sailboat go? So some of the additional topics that we have that we've thought that we might have some sessions on are aids to navigation, and you can see them there. But one thing I want to emphasize is we're looking for other topics. If there's things that you would like to have us address in an on-land training session, please shoot me an email. You can get to me from training on the club website. That'll shoot me an email, and just some subjects or any suggestions that you have, I would appreciate. You can go to the next slide. This year, let's press on to on-water training. Is going to be May 20th and 21st, and again, it'll be in Rock Hall with Haven Charters. We can go to the next slide. We have 3 boats scheduled, or 3 boats chartered, I should say. Since last year, I think we only had 2 boats chartered. I'm not really sure, but so we have 3 boats charter. Hopefully we have a good turnout for on water training. You can go on to the next slide, please. The agenda is pretty much what we've done in previous years. In other words, on Friday night, we will arrive at Haven. We'll have dinner ashore, and then, you know, during dinner or after dinner, have a discussion of what the weekend objectives are. Saturday, we'll do some boat systems overview. And a lot of these systems overview will be follow-ons to what we've been talking about in on-land training. Number of topics that we'll cover on Saturday, and we'll have under power exercises. We do a lot of that. Board. And again, we'll have lunch on the water, and then we depart for home. And if we can go to the next slide, or is it the next presentation?
Yeah,
I think I'm up next again.
I think you are. Why don't we slip in another drawing while Steve gets the next presentation queued up? Lisa, you're up.
Okay. Here we go again. Another gift certificate, Steve, is the,
Yep, that's all we have. That's all we're doing.
okay,
I won?
No,
no. Oh,
well, maybe.
I got a name that was supposed to be removed.
Okay, just pull
They were
another.
there Yesterday,
Mhm.
or they won yesterday?
It's either Gary or me.
Yes, it was.
We won yesterday, so we're not double dipping.
And, ooh,
Marianne.
Marianne won a certificate.
Woohoo. I don't think she heard us.
She's on mute.
I'm
Ah,
on mute there. You disappeared from my screen when
Yeah.
the trip
Yeah.
came up. So
yeah,
I
but
didn't
I was
see it.
able to see it. I was
Okay.
able to see it. Yep.
Great, thanks. I need that little financial assist. Thanks. I plan to do a lot of sailing this season, so.
Good.
Awesome. All right. Go ahead, Gary.
Okay, thanks, Mia. Our first trip of the season is going to be a week-long trip. Typically, we haven't been doing week-long trips on the Potomac, but or on the Chesapeake, but this one is going to leave out of Solomons in Maryland and then go up the Potomac River and hit a number of anchorages and a couple of marinas on the Potomac River. So Solomons is, I think it's an hour south of Annapolis, puts it about 2 hours south of where we typically go out of in Rock Hall. So that's one of the big reasons that it's a week-long trip rather than a weekend trip. You know, if we're going to be traveling that far, we figured it should be a little more than just a weekend. And like I said, this is going to go from Solomons around to, and then up the Potomac to Colonial Beach in Virginia. We have 2 boats chartered out of Sail Solomons on Solomons. It's out of the Zonagers Yachting Center, excuse me. You can go to the next slide, please. So the first day we'll leave Solomons, go down the Chesapeake, round Lookout Point, and then to an anchorage in Smith Creek, which is up the Potomac, just a couple miles up the Potomac. Next slide. And basically the way that I planned this, this trip is we alternate between, we'll anchor out one night, be in a marina the next night. So on Sunday, we'll leave from Smith Creek and depart the anchorage and go to Coles Point Marina. It looks to be a nice marina. They've got a nice pool there and things like that. I haven't been to this specific marina yet, so I'm looking forward to being there. We can go to the next slide. And some of these, one of the things I should have said was the first and the last day are going to be our longest sails. Some of these are between 10 and 15 miles. So they should give us plenty of time. We don't have to go directly to the anchorage or whatever. We should have some time to be able to sail on the Chesapeake or the Potomac a little bit. The first sails, the first 2 days, or the first day and the last day are 25 to 30 mile sails. So after leaving Falls Point Marina, we'll go further up to Canoe Neck Creek. There we're planning to have a little nautical trivia competition, and we'll anchor up there and have some fun. On Tuesday, then, from Canoe Neck Creek, we'll get to our ultimate destination of Colonial Beach. Colonial Beach is, interestingly enough, is supposed to be the birthplace of George Washington, or at least that's what they promote.
No, he was born in England.
Well, they say he was born there, so let them
No, he
have
was
their
born in
way.
England.
I'm not going to argue with them.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
And
Maybe
then
they could go.
after spending the night there, and hopefully we could have a group dinner or something like that at one of the restaurants in Colonial Beach, we'll sail back down the Potomac to Lower Mackinac Creek. Again, this is another anchorage that I've never been to, but according to the cruising guide, it's one of the best cruising spots in the area. So hopefully it's a nice place to anchor and raft up. Thursday, we'll go back and we'll sail further down the Potomac to Cone River. We stop at Cone River for a pump out and then proceed further up the river for another raft up and hopefully a must-go dinner. And then Friday the 16th, back to out of the Potomac up the Chesapeake to Solomons and turn in our boats. And for that week of sailing, cost is going to be $800 for, and those are some of the lighthouses that we should see on our trip up. So hopefully you sign up and join us on the Chesapeake and the Potomac. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Gary. I see some applause from from some of our participants. Excellent. We have two more trips. Good. So we have 2 more drawings and 2 more trips. We will do another drawing. Lisa, you are up again.
All right.
And Steve, don't share screen until
I got the message.
Yeah, you got the message. Don Schlanger. Is Don still here?
Yep. Is he?
Awesome.
Well, yep, there he is.
I am, thank
Oh,
you.
there you are, Don.
No, I got 2 of these gift certificates that burn in a hole in my pocket.
Yeah,
Oh.
well, and the other one's expired, so you really, they're only for
Oh,
1 year.
gosh. Should have
So, yeah,
banked it.
You gotta come, you could have sold it.
That's true, I could have sold it.
You gotta come on a trip. Okay, I think that Marianne will be speaking to our next trip because
Yes, and I'm gonna,
not here. Good.
I'm gonna start out by saying, no, Steve, George Washington was born in Virginia and
Oh,
very
he was,
proud.
okay. Thank you.
Yes. I'm assistant trip leader to our Beth Jelinek, who is leading and whose brainchild this is. And she has been very excited, but she hurt her hand and had surgery today on it. And so is out of commission for a day or two till she recovers. The Erie Canal, we're going to head west, and it's August 7th through the 14th, a Monday through a Monday, but we have to be off by Monday morning So technically, it's an 8-day trip, but it's basically a 7-day trip. We are going to tour the historic Erie Canal, go through locks every day, some days more than 1 or 2. There's also bridges, raised bridges. And these are the boats that will be on, 42-foot canal boats. And as you see the bikes on top, those are provided free of charge to us, anyone on the boat that would like to, because the trail, as you could see right next to the canal, is a perfect level bike riding trail. And if one wanted to, one could get off the boat in the morning and say, I'll meet you 3 miles up ahead and stop and pick me up. And yeah. And yeah, you don't have to stay on the boat, or there's a town you want to see, or you might well be asked to get provisions for some people, but yes, you could run an errand and then again, meet us at a certain lock and we'll pick you up. So that's our plan. And our route, we're going to start out with in Macedon, New York. It's, as you see, just a little south of Rochester, and Rochester is going to be our big stopover point, or our first one. And Rochester has lots of things going on. This trip is different than many others. It's not a sailing trip, but there is work to be performed on the water every day with holding lines and getting through locks safely. So there's limited responsibilities, but we got to keep the boat straight and get through without damaging the boat. And we're working with Erie Canal Adventures in Macedon, New York. These narrow boats have been built to the parameters of the Erie Canal. So their engine speed is, top speed is like 15 miles an hour. So most of the canal has speeds of about 10 speed limits. Some places it's only 5 miles an hour. Water and electric is available at most towns. Most stops will stop at. There's usually a minimum charge for the electric hookups. And I don't believe there's a charge for water. But included in our trip price is the boats and the bicycles for each participant that wants one. You can decline. The fully equipped galley with refrigerator, pots and pans, dishes, utensils. The bathrooms have showers with lots of hot water because we're only moving through our engine and our engine heats our water. They provide linens and towels. We have air conditioning. We have a propane grill, but we can't use it on the boat. We have to take it up and put it on the grass on the walkway there, and we could grill if we wanted to do that. There's canvas, as you saw in the photo, that covers the back and the front of the boat. If one wanted to sleep out there, one could, but hats and bug spray and sunscreen are encouraged. It is August. Boat safety equipment is supplied, radios, life jackets, flares, first aid kit, and lines. Erie Canal Adventures will provide a pre-trip review of the boat and the route for everyone who participates. We are going to have club certified skippers on each boat to act as captain to help maintain the order of cats on board, and but everyone by the charter company's provisions needs to learn how to operate the boat. They have a video on their website, which I watched the other day, and it's very informative. It was a good overview, talking about batteries and where equipment is. It was helpful. Next slide. That's a picture of the boat galleys. Some of the boats have been updated. I'm not sure if all of them, but that's the updated galley. Same space, but a much more updated look. I prefer the Knotty Pine myself, but
Yeah.
just me. Yeah, I like that. Our float plan is to leave from Macedon to Fairfield. The Erie Canal Adventure staff stays on board with us as we go through the first lock 30, and make sure that we understand what's involved. And then we're on our own. And it's only about an hour and a half to Fairfield, where we'll have dinner at local restaurants. Next stop, day 2, is Rochester. There's lots of different things to see. You could just bicycle the canal path, but you could make your way into Rochester Center. There's a botanical garden, the Strong National Museum of Play, the George Eastman Museum, Susan B. Anthony Museum and House. And if you wanted to take the long haul, you could put your feet into Lake Ontario. Ontario Beach Park is about an hour away via Uber. Day 3 is Brockport, charming old town. Walk a bike to town, perhaps a group barbecue. There's a park there, Harveston Park, which has some barbecues. So we're thinking if weather and everything permits. Day 4 is Medina with a stop in Holly. In Holly is the Waterfall Park. And it's a great place to take a walk along the canal trail to see some of these waterfalls. Day 5 is our turnaround date. We head back, but now we're on the other side of the canal. And so if there's some things we missed on the way up, we could stop at them. There's a train depot museum. There are some breweries. In Pittsford, there's a brewery and a Pittsford Dairy ice cream, supposedly the best ice cream around, made from their own dairy cows. Day 7, the last day, full day, we have there Palmyra Aqueduct Park and historic Palmyra, and then back to Macedon for dinner. And the next morning, we have to be off the boats by 9 a.m. That's a Monday morning. Next slide. Some pictures of the Eastman Kodak Museum. Ontario Beach State Park, Rochester. Depending on weather, it might be, but yeah, the Holly Canal Falls, I think will be the falls. That's just one of the falls. So I think that would be interesting too. From central New Jersey, it's a good 4.5 to 5 hour drive to Macedon. On the first day, all crew need to be present and on the boat at 12:30 lunchtime in order to get the chart review, the boat review. So that is possible to do from home by leaving in the wee hours of the morning, but we're suggesting it might be more comfortable to go up the day before, if not sooner. There is a Best Western in Palmyra that seemed to be moderately priced, or check out Seneca Lake. It's a nice place to visit. It's about an hour from Macedon instead of facing the traffic heading from home. So yes, orientation for all crew, August 7th. I said that already. We will have a pre-trip and we'll discuss provisioning, and at that point we'll decide about the barbecue. But it is possible we are hoping to eat out each evening and probably even some lunches. And this is an opportunity to share the work and share the fun. And for any of your family or friends who are hesitant about going with strangers on a sailboat, this is a good intro to what we call fondly camping on the water. Although this is going to be a little more luxurious compared to a sailboat, because the surfaces are all flat and there's getting a little bit more room. Each boat has 2 cabins and then a salon, double sleeping area. And that's why we plan to put 5 people on each boat. That's the plan. We could squeeze 6 if, depending. The price is $9.75, and that's for the boat, all fuel, bicycles, linens, and towels. Our boat costs will be provisions and any cost for electric while tied up at town docks. Question? Do I hear a question?
Mm-mm.
I think it
Oh.
was, yeah, I think it was background noise.
My
Okay.
phone went off, sorry.
Oh.
Oh, okay. There is a $200 deposit for this trip because we want to make sure that everyone is serious about who signs up for it.
I have a question. I only took one trip last year, and that was I was on your boat, Marianne. So last year there was like so many people wanting to take these trips. Is it going to be like this year where you kind of sign up and it's like a lottery that you go through to?
Yes, every trip.
Okay. I got
That's
it.
the way our trips are, always, to make it fair for everyone. Yes, it's a lottery.
Let me, since I'll just jump in. I meant to say that as before we started the trips. The way it works is, as of today, we enter a 2-week a quiet period. That gives you time to mail in your reservation. So you want your reservation to get to your trip leader by 2 weeks from today, so that they then, if they have more people signed up, more reservations than they have slots on the trip, they do a drawing. And that's the order. And if you don't get drawn first, then you go on out automatically on a wait list. If they have enough people, if they have enough slots for the people who are signed up and skippers and first mates, then those people are confirmed and we're good. There's a little more complication, but that's fundamentally it. It's 2-week quiet period for you to have time to mail in your reservations to your trip leaders. Go to that link that's in the chat. That's where the trip package is with the forms that you then can print and send in. So yeah, it's always like that. Once we're past that 2-week period and more reservations are sent, they're first come, first served. They go on the waiting list, or they get added depending on the situation for the trip.
Mark has a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You got to unmute.
Yeah. No, the only question I had was, and maybe I missed it, how many boats were you planning on having for this trip?
For the Erie Canal,
Okay.
3.
I guess I missed it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, she may not have said it.
No, I did. I said it, 3.
Okay.
Mark, all the boats are identical though. There's no difference between the boats.
Yeah, that absolutely are.
That may be the galley.
Right.
Right.
The
Quality
updated
of the
galley.
bikes might vary. All right, we have one more door prize, and then after that, one more trip. Right?
Right.
Right. Good. Okay. Just checking. So Lisa, you're up.
Unmute, Lisa.
Lisa's connection's a little funky. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a slow internet.
Yeah, she's had that happen before. There you go. Now you're not muted.
Okay,
There we go.
oh, John Burke.
All right.
All right.
Congratulations, John. I know you were here. Are you here? There you are.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, now you have even more incentive to
To go on
do
a
it.
trip. Yeah.
all right. The last trip that we're presenting today. You might see more trips come along, watch your email, but this is the next premier trip of the season. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. Yes, premier trip indeed.
The next one. There are at least 2.
2-week-long trips, yes. Out of Anacortes, Washington, which is just a little north of Seattle. We're planning a week-long trip, a Sunday to Sunday with a Saturday pre-board. The trip leader is Craig Gill. We'll talk a little bit later. And I'm the assistant trip leader. And where's my arrow? Here we go. From September 9th through the 17th. We'll pre-board in the afternoon of September 9th, and we'll get into that in just a minute. in Anacortes, and we'll sail the San Juan Islands, which are a group of islands in the Juan de Fuca Straits, which is that body of water that kind of separates part of Washington State from Vancouver and going up that way. So it's a 5-island trip. Gonna hit, these are all islands in the San Juans: Lopez Island, Stewart Island, San Juan Island itself, which gives the chain its name, Shaw Island, and Orcas Island. And you see the picture of an orca there. So orcas are almost guaranteed to be seen while we're there, because there's a pod, or more than just a pod. There are 3 types of orcas. There's a classification called offshore, so we won't see those. Those are out off in the Pacific. There are transient orcas that pass through the area seasonally. And then they have a group of resident orcas. And as the name suggests, there's some background noise there.
Yeah. Let me see who can mute. I'm gonna mute some folks. Go ahead, Steve.
That, as the name suggests, stay there all year round. So we're bound to see them. They feed on, it gives them their name, killer whales, is somewhat true because they are carnivorous. They like to eat harbor seals, among other things. So they'll be going after them and the water will be churning, and there's lots of other stuff, bald eagles, there may be some dolphins as well. Killer whales, factoid, are not whales. They are in the dolphin family. And there'll be a whale museum along the way where you can go learn about killer whales, even though they're not whales. So we will be traversing in a clockwise route. Anacortes is just off the chart on your right, with the red arrows coming down. I don't know, can you see my mouse, or is that not showing up?
I can see it.
Okay. So down around the bottom here, to the bottom of Lopez Island, which according to the way Craig and I have read the tide and current tables, the clockwise route seems to be the best way. The winds tend to prevail from the west to northwest, and of course the currents go every which way in between the islands. But this seems to be the best way to get across some of the currents that go north-south as we come across from Anacortes over here on the right. The next day, so that'll be anchoring out, decompress from jet lag if you just came in that Saturday, because we'll leave on Sunday. I'll go through all this in detail. Go around up to here. So there's that's the longest day. And this is where we'll most likely see the most orcas, especially up here in Speeder Channel area and up in this little area here. This is where I saw them when I was there 2 years ago. And then back through here, thread through here, Friday Harbor, another anchor out, Rosario, and back down and then back. So we'll go through a little day by day, quick review day by day. We can get the mouse working here. Here we go. So Sunday, let me just back up for Saturday. The pre-board is good, but will probably happen sometime after 4 o'clock because the charter company is requiring a check ride by them of the skippers. And we have 2 boats reserved, you'll see. So that's going to take place in the late afternoon, but they go home between 4 and 5. So it's probably going to be somewhere around 2 or 3. We haven't confirmed that with them yet. So in the meantime, those that arrive can do the food shopping at the local Safeway or other markets. Anacortes is a very busy tourist town, but there's lots of services there. So I was worried about having to get provisions before we got there, but it's totally not necessary. The charter company has offered, pending availability, of shuttling with their van. Presumably they'll be able to pick us up from the Safeway, but the Safeway also delivers. So it's a very maritime oriented town, Anacortes. And it's on the other side of Anacortes Island is where the ferry leaves for all these other islands. So there's a lot of people there and there's a lot of services there. A lot of hotels, motels, inns, they like to call them. So Sunday, we'll make this trip across Rosario Strait to this little harbor here, to Lopez Islands, about 16 miles. Nice leisurely day. The next day is our longest day. What I say, about 26, 25 miles, nautical miles, depending how many tacks you make. And going up to Garrison Bay. And Garrison Bay is very famous for, if you've had a chance to read the write-up bit, where the British were anchored. I don't think they rafted up, but they were anchored. And it's, whoops, yep. They were anchored because there was something called a pig war that was going on. So the idea is we will take a long day to get up there, but because the next day is a short day by design, you'll have time in the morning on Tuesday to go ashore to the San Juan Islands National Historic Park and learn all about the pig war. Great visitor center. There's a video, there's some stories, there's some books, usual national park stuff. And I won't tell you what the pig war is all about other than, yes, a pig. It was not named Arnold. Don't worry about that. And the only thing I'll tell you is it's kind of like Hatfields versus the McCoys, but without the love interest. Okay. So why it went on for over 30 years, who knows? But you'll learn all about that when you go ashore and read about Dingy Shore. So probably after lunch, depending on how much time people want to spend ashore, or maybe not, and just get out on the water again. There is Roche Harbor here, is a stop for pumping out and whatever else emergencies maybe have arisen before coming back around and out this way and up to Stewart Island. Again, another small little anchorage, anchor out. So these first 3 nights are anchoring out, all dinners aboard, excuse me. The next day, we will head to Friday Harbor. Friday Harbor is the hub of the San Juans, where we have slips arranged for one night, showers and all that good stuff, reprovisioning. And I will let my capable trip leader, if he's going to take it off mute, to tell the rest of the story.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, so we have a relatively short sail the next day. So in the morning, I'll have time to visit the Whale Museum that Steve mentioned earlier. Also to reprovision there in Friday Harbor. There's seafood, fresh seafood on the main dock, so you can load up for seafood, have some good fish that night. And then we'll be sailing about 10 miles up and anchoring in Shaw Island, up around the corner, as you can see there. Next slide. The next day, on the 15th, we're going to sail another short sail, but up to a really fabulous resort, Rosaria Resort on Orcas Island. And it was the original mansion home and estate home of a wealthy shipbuilder named Moran. And the old
Moran, not moron, Moran.
Not Moran. He's I don't want to denigrate his intelligence, Moran. And in resort fashion, and we have slips for the night. We're going to probably aim to get there about when we can get in, which is 1 p.m, because there's plenty to do. There's a free, along with the dockage fee, there's a free family pool, but also for $12, you can join their spa for 24 hours through the noon the next day that has indoor and outdoor pools. You can sign up for massages and all that kind of good stuff. There's a fitness center and the like. And then in the mansion at 4:00 in the afternoon, they have a historical presentation, and they have the old Wurlitzer organ plays, and it's a good time. And there's a terrific restaurant in there that we can reserve, or there's another kind of outdoor grill to reserve. So there's a lot to do there. The next day, move ahead on Saturday, we're going to sail south to Lopez Island, and depending on the winds and the current, We've got a couple of different potential anchorages. One's about 7 miles away, the other's 10 miles, nautical miles away. So we'll see which way the wind blows and the current flows and pick one of those. And that'll
There's
be in
actually
every,
almost 3 spots, because there's one up at the north end and there's in the middle.
yeah,
A little less protected, and this is the most protected one. So that's our worst case.
that's right. That's right. And it also depends on getting back the next day, because the next, we'll have our must go party that night, our last anchorage. And then the next day, we've got to get a pretty early start because we need to get back about 15 nautical miles over to the right off of the map there, back to Anacortes, get fueled up, pumped out, and off the boats by no later than 1 o'clock. And then there's a shuttles service from the Seattle Tacoma Airport that'll take people up there and also take people home. It's saying $52 current fee for seniors, 54
One way.
otherwise.
One way.
One way. No seniors in this group, I know. And shuttles leave, that afternoon. You can catch one either at 1:10 or 3:10 from a gas station that's close by, but the marina said they'll bus us over.
If possible, if there's enough business, they told us also that sometimes the shuttle will stop, maybe even also pick up at the marina.
At the marina, which would be
Because the
great.
chart is more than the charter company at the marina. So if we get lucky and they're running it that way, well, better, but they're not showing that on their schedule right now.
Yeah, and it's a nice marina. It's a good facility. So that's the sail plan. And then just moving ahead, last couple of slides real briefly.
Just so people understand, it's about a 2.5 hour shuttle ride, because there's a change. You have to change in Burlington, not Vermont, Washington. They have a hub there, and you have to change vehicles to get down to the airport. So it's a total of about 2.5 hours. So if you're going to go home that day, it has to be a red eye.
Right,
Figuring
yeah,
you get to the airport about 5, you wouldn't want to get any flight before 8 or 9 o'clock.
Thanks for adding that. So it's either a red eye Sunday night or Monday back east. 2 boats reserved. Each will sleep 6. The Harriet Tubman, a caliber 40, and the aptly named Orca Strait, Jeanneau. And the last couple of things, just real briefly. For those of you who haven't spent much time out there or have spent time out in the Pacific Northwest and want to see more things, Anacortes is pretty much located midway between Seattle and Vancouver. Both are great cities, a lot to do, and then tons to do in the area. It's a beautiful mountainous area. There's tons of recreation. People asked yesterday what the weather's like, and one member had been out there around that same time, and it was kind of cold at night. It just depends. It could be generally would probably be fall on the Chesapeake sort of thing, warm days, hopefully sunny, and cooler nights. But as we get closer, we'll know more about that. But a lot to do if you want to plan pre or post travel. And then the final slide gets to the price, $1,525 for the trip, plus provisions and such. And we'll need a deposit to secure your reservation. And as Mia said at the outset, this now opens the period. I'll just need to receive your form and check no later than the morning of Monday the 10th, because we'll be doing the drawing if we need to that afternoon. So that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, this is Andre. I got a couple of questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure
Yes,
can.
Andrew.
Yeah, I presume the $200 non-refundable deposit is only if you've been selected for the trip, if there's more than 12 people, who are going, right?
Yes,
It's
club
not
policy
an
for all.
application fee.
Yeah,
That's right.
Andre, for all club trips, your check is not, your deposit check and first is not deposited
This trip also with me. She hasn't been she couldn't make either the meeting yesterday today. So I'm wondering, are you going to be posting this video on the club website anywhere?
Available hopefully soon.
Okay, very good. That's all I have.
Mia mentioned a couple times the link to the trip package, and then on the website itself, under the trip, that Steve and I did. So
said there's going to be sleep 6. So are there going to be 2 cabins and then 2 in the salon, or will you have 3 cabins on each of these boats?
yeah, it
The
depends
boats
on the. Let's go back 2 slides.
Boats have 2 cabins.
Yeah, they're a little different. Each boat's a little different.
Yeah, the 2 models. The boat on the bottom, this is a sketch of the model boat we're chartering, but it may not be the layout of the actual boat we're chartering. If that makes any sense.
So there may be a crew cab, there may be a crew single or 2 on it, but basically
These may or may not be on the boat.
Yeah.
They don't have a configuration on the website for the boat that's in charter. So this is the best guess of what that model is.
Yeah, so figure on 2 two-person berths, and then the saloon. 2 in the saloon. Or if it's nice, in the cockpit. Any other questions? Good questions. All right.
So are we bringing sleeping bags? What about sleeping? I realize. Are they supplying linens and blankets, or should
I
we
believe
plan?
they
There are
do.
some provided. There's, I think, 6 sets per boat.
Yeah, but we'll give all those details to the folks once once we've got the crew list. We'll provide a lot
Okay.
more detail.
Yeah, you'll get more, closer to it. Yep.
But there is linens.
I believe I recall in the thing there's linens. So thank you.
Two
Back to
quick
you.
questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yes,
Yeah,
David.
David.
I'm assuming that the water is generally too cold to hop in for swimming.
More in the
You
first
can
3
certainly
inches.
you could hop in, but you'd probably be hopping out pretty fast.
Okay. Would you have an approximate amount on airfare? What kind of range it is?
For coach
What
class,
airport?
probably between $600 and $800 right now.
Yeah,
And what
coach.
airport? Seattle?
See, you go
From Newark to
see-
Seattle on
you go to
United.
SeaTac. Yeah, go to SeaTac.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's for economy class.
All right, back to you, Mia.
Thought I'd share a photo of the group yesterday so that you can all enjoy that. So there you go. Other than that, I believe we are done. Somebody remind me if there's something I'm forgetting. Okay, nobody's reminding me. Good. So just keep in mind that you want to send your reservations in the next couple of weeks to the appropriate trip leader. Go again. I'll say it again. Go to that chat link. That's I'm gonna get that down. It's hard to look at. Go to into the chat to see the link. Otherwise, just go to the sailingclub.com and .org. Sorry, and you can find it. There's a link right on the homepage. So I don't think we have any further business. Thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting. As someone said, I think we will be posting this video once it's finished processing and we can get it from Zoom. And it will be available in perpetuity after that for your enjoyment if you should need it.